Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Vinci back here with another survival vendor reset video. Uh, this is for the week of January 13th, and we're going to start off here in the hub of the base of operations. We head over here to the special equipment vendor, and we don't have an M4, a lightweight M4 like that one week that was godly, and it's been my weapon to my go-to weapon ever since I got it, but here we do have a custom P416, but the base damage is a little low and the enemy armor damage is also a little low. It does come with brutal, prepared, and talented, which prepared I guess is okay. I wouldn't suggest it just because 30 meters is quite the distance, and a lot of the time you kind of want to be closer, that way you can guarantee your headshots with brutal. So I guess if you really don't have anything, it's an okay. I do like the custom P416s as themselves. It's got firearms, which I personally have firearms on my backpacks. It's a decent roll on it, with also it comes with armor on it, so you can roll with that burn resistance for ammo capacity, and you'll have a decent Firecrest backpack. Alright, so now we head over here to the special blueprints, which is the Phoenix Credit Blueprint vendor, and the first thing I saw that kind of made my eyes open pretty wide was the Firearms Gloves Blueprint. Now, the good thing about this, at least for me, I roll firearms on my gloves, as you can see. And the good thing with this is you can roll these and try to get Savage gloves, which I still personally use in all of my builds. I never go without it. But for me personally, I don't have good Savage gloves for when I'm using SMGs. I do still like to use SMGs even though they aren't all that great. But for me, the only other gloves I have are these, and they have stamina on them, unfortunately. So what I can do is I can get this mod. That way I can where we go? Okay. Basically, I can almost not guarantee it, but I can keep rolling, and I have plenty of fabric, as you can see. The little low on electronics, but keep rolling these, hoping that you can get some Savage gloves with nice rolls on it. Here at the advanced weapon vendor in the base of operations, if you don't know where that is, come in the front. It's like to the right, and then through the doors heading into the security wing. Anyway, there aren't really anything. There isn't really anything too great here, but there is a decent classic M1A. The downside to the classic M1A is you can't put an underbarrel on it, which does actually kind of suck, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world if you don't have a good sniper and you want to have one. This one's semi-automatic, so the damage is practically half of the bolt actions, so I usually prefer to have the single fire bolt action rifles, but this one here has got a decent base damage, and it also has very high headshot damage, which makes it that much better. It also comes with it prepared, which is very good to have on snipers, because a lot of the time you are going to be at least 30 meters or more from the target. And it also has Ferocious, which if you're not running an electronics build, chances are you're not going to have high enough electronics to get this, which is perfect for it to be in the third slot. It's not the greatest talent to have on snipers, but it is a decent one, seeing as how it's in the third slot and it doesn't cost anything. If you're looking for a PvE sniper, then this is pretty much a pretty good one. You can roll competent away for brutal to get some more headshot damage on there, and it might be able to do pretty good. Alright guys, so our next stop on the list is the Kerman Station Safe House, just to the west of the base of operations here. Here, although SMGs really aren't too great nowadays, I still like to use them every now and then because I do have a couple of good SMGs, including my MP5, which I guess I could show off real quick. This guy right here with Deadly, Vicious, and Adept. 15.9k base damage without any bonus damage on my gloves or anything, and 36% critical hit damage is really high. Now, with that being said, obviously SMGs aren't that great. That totally includes the Vector because it's quite shit. But if you're looking for an Alpha Ridge SMG build, you could always have as a backup SMG this guy here. The stats on it don't matter as in damage and critical hit damage, but the talents on it obviously do. And this one specifically has responsive, which is great for SMGs because you're always going to be using them close quarters. And it also has ferocious, which, like said with the classic M1A, if you're not running a skill power build, you're not going to be able to reach the amount of skill power to get the ability or get this talent unlocked. So with it being in a third slot, it's free, and as a PvE build, it's a decent talent to have. Not the best for SMGs, but once again, it's still helpful for when you're doing like incursions or challenge mode difficulty, really anything PvE related. Alright guys, now we're down here at the Madison Stand Safe House, which is just here to the south of the Dark Zone. Here we have a backpack, an operator backpack, which has specialized, which is one of the best talents to have on a backpack. I use it personally, which adds 200% of your firearms and stamina to your skill power. So say you're running a build that primarily focuses on doing a pretty good amount of damage and also being tanky at the same time, chances are you're stacking most of your stats into stamina and firearms. So this isn't necessarily to get your electronics up for talents, but at least get it up so that way when you use your talents, such as primarily for me first aid, it'll increase the amount of health it gives. That way you don't have to focus solely on skill power to be able to heal yourself during fights. So this one has 54% ammo capacity, which on your backpack you usually want to have that in your minor attribute slot. And then for your major attribute, you obviously want to try and roll away that critical hit damage for armor. This also starts has a base firearms stat, which is actually quite high because I believe the max is 1272, and this is 1258, so that's also very good. We're now down here at the Last Call Safe House, which is down here to the southeast of the southeast corner of the Dark Zone. Here we have an Omega Rifle Suppressor, which has 17% headshot damage, which it's not the highest, but you know, if you don't have an Omega Rifle Suppressor already as it is on your assault rifle, sniper rifles, really anything heavy as a primary weapon, this is the suppressor you want to have on. It also has stability, which if you're running an Alpha Bridge or just using the FAMAS in general, stability is going to reduce the damage a little bit, but it's not a lot of stability, so it shouldn't affect it much. And it also has 3% critical hit chance, which is another good stat to have on your suppressor. So I would honestly suggest grabbing this one. Alright guys, over here at the East 53rd Street Dark Zone checkpoint in the northeast corner, we have ourselves another suppressor, which actually is quite good. The Tyrant suppressor, which is useful on pistols and SMGs, has 6.5% critical hit chance, which is guaranteed on these, I think, 5.5% headshot damage, and 4% critical hit damage. All of those are damaging attributes, and all of them are very good to have on SMGs too. So this one, if you got, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I don't go into the Dark Zone a whole lot, so personally I don't have too many credits to spend on this kind of stuff. I mean, attachments are pretty cheap, but anyway, there's that. If you guys are into the Dark Zone, you got enough funds, go ahead and grab that one if you need it. Alright guys, so we just stopped here at this one, check East 34th Street vendor, and there's a lot of noise outside. We're gonna go check it out. There's some rogues out there. I don't know if they're still alive or not. They were popping up on the radar while I was doing the northern checkpoints. Here's one. We're gonna go see if we can have a little fun really quick. Oh no! That guy's kind of a jerk. Alright guys, we are now at the West 31st Street Dark Zone vendor. And right off the bat, we've got ourselves a classic AK47. I don't usually use them, so I don't know what a good base damage is on them. But this one has 19% enemy armor damage, which isn't all that great, but it's not bad. But what really makes this thing stand out is the fact that it's got 3 talents that are very good to have on assault rifles. Now, I wouldn't suggest using an AK in the Dark Zone or in PvP, really. But it could probably be pretty good in PvE. Or, I mean, if you want to use it as like a backup Alpha Bridge, even though it would suggested to use the FAMAS because that guaranteed talent on it is very good to have. But it's got responsive, destructive, and vicious. But these are 3 very good talents to have, already pre-rolled onto the gun, so you don't have to roll them. If there's one you would prefer over another, then feel free. You could probably get go for like brutal over vicious or something like that. But pretty good buy. Although if you're not someone who plays in the Dark Zone, you're probably not going to have enough Dark Zone funds to afford it. Alright guys, so here is a good one. West 39th Street Dark Zone vendor. We've got, for starters, I just want to mention the fact that earlier I was talking about not having good Savage gloves for SMGs. Well, here's a pair. Comes with pretty good firearms right off the bat, which I use firearms, and it's actually higher than the ones I've got for my assault rifle. It's got SMG damage, which I think the max is somewhere around 1,000, but that's pretty good. Critical hit chance 5%, which I think the highest is 6% that you can get. And then it's got damage to elites, which I would definitely be rolling away for critical hit damage. So if anyone's looking for some Savage gloves, here's a pretty decent pair. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to buy these ones just because it pretty much take up the entirety of my Dark Zone funds, but there's a good chance I will be. Also, you take one more spot down, we got a nice prototype electronics mod. It has 250 base electronics, which isn't super high, but it's still pretty darn good, especially for a random item you can just buy. And this one's only 21,000 Dark Zone funds per, so it's not all that much. And it also has 268 armor, which I don't know what the max is, but it's 268 I know is pretty damn high. So that's a nice prototype electronics mod for any of you guys running like a support or skill power focused build. So there's that to look forward to. Alright guys, now we are here at the West 42nd Street Dark Zone vendor, which, oh, there's one more we're going to be stopping at after this one, but here, nothing too great, but this prototype electronics mod here, personally, I haven't run a electronics build before, but this one, instead of having the armor, so you sacrifice some toughness for it, but you get an extra 3,200 skill power on top of the 253 electronics, so that's going to be helpful for stacking skill power very high. And then we also got an extended mag here, which the magazine size is kind of low. I think you can probably get somewhere around 105% nowadays. You used to be able to get like 115%, but so the magazine size is a little low, but it also has critical hit chance and critical hit damage, so those are two additional stats to have on there that are pretty nice to have. Alright guys, so here we are at the final vendor we're going to be looking at. It is the West 46th Street vendor. Here we have, I don't know, I'm not too sure currently whether or not MG5s are still good. I used one back when the patch came out that released them. And it was amazing. Like, the base damage on it compared to the other LMGs is low, but the fact that the RPM is so high and the fact that they basically gain accuracy over time while you're shooting, so with the RPM being as high as it is, it gains that like maximum accuracy a lot faster. So I don't know whether or not they're still good, but if so, this one here has brutal and competent, which brutal, always nice to have on most guns just for the headshot damage because most of the time you're going to be aiming for the head anyway. Competent, I believe, is a pretty good skill. I don't personally use it, but increases weapon damage by 10% for 15 seconds after using a skill, so that'll help with increasing that damage, and then you can probably roll away commanding or, yeah, to whatever else you think would be good to have on an LMG, because personally, I don't really know. Now, I want to point out this prototype performance mod right here, which is turret health. I have never really used the turret. I used it back when like the shock turret was extremely OP, just to kind of stop people in their tracks and do some damage to them while they couldn't really do anything. I know I kind of sound like a loser for doing that, but currently, I know a couple of weeks ago when I was in the Dark Zone, some guy put down a fire turret and I was trying to shoot it, and that thing had so much health. Like, it took like, if I stopped shooting it because I knew I wasn't going to destroy it. If I were to have tried to kill it straight up, it probably would have taken 4 full magazines just to destroy that thing. And I'm assuming that has a lot to do with the fact that he was probably stacking 7% or whatever the maximum turret health mod is. So that would be another 28% health on top of having skill power and maybe like fire crest or something like that. Alright, well that's gonna do it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know I said like I wasn't really gonna do many of these videos, but I was able to get on basically right when the vendors reset, and I figured I would try to get it out as soon as possible. That way people can get word of what's out there and know what they should be looking forward to this week with the vendor reset. Anyway, if you guys like the video, please leave a like, comment down below with any other support, or unless you think there's just too many people doing this right now that it might not be worth it, or unless you appreciate the fact that I get it out quick. I know it might not be the most greatest quality video, but I kind of get the same amount of information out. I really only covered vendors that had something, and I also did not go into the dark zone to the safe houses because it would take a lot of extra time due to the fact that if I get into combat, I can't go into the safe room, and if I get stuck with like people camping rogue and stuff like that, it would just make it a lot more difficult to check that stuff out. And as myself personally, it's not worth it to check for myself due to the fact that I don't go into dark zone enough to be willing to, or have enough currency to buy that kind of stuff. I don't know if there's still Phoenix credit vendors in there or not, but either way, thank you guys for watching again, and I will see you guys next week.